Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to Season 3, Episode 29 of The Running Irishman. In this episode, we are joined by Finley Daly. But before we get into everything to do with Finley and this episode of the podcast, I just want to say that I apologise really for not uploading an episode of the podcast last Thursday. If you follow me over on the Running Irishman, the official Instagram, link down in the description and in the show notes below, to keep up to date with everything that gets done on behind the scenes and exclusive posts and whatnot. You would know that I was away last weekend, so I was not able to. I wasn't away last weekend. I went from Thursday to Sunday, and obviously the episode goes up on a Thursday. But I didn't want to. The time that the episode should go live, I was actually in the car, so I wouldn't have been able to post it. I wouldn't have been able to kind of promote it and share it around and whatnot. So I decided. I contacted Finley and everything, told him what the story was when the episode is going to go live, and he was perfect with it. So yeah, just for anyone that doesn't follow me over on Instagram, I just kind of wanted to clear that up on why I didn't upload an episode of the podcast last Thursday, so that's the reason why. But to get into this episode, yes, we are joined by Finley Daly, who came second in the Steeplechase Senior National Championships in Ireland this year. He ran a sub-9 to then go on to qualify for the Under-23 European Championships. He is currently studying and running in the University of Galway, and overall is a really, really sound lad. We have a really good chat about his entire career, the ups and downs, and especially about the Under-23 European Championships and where he wants to see his career to go in the future. So yeah, that's for this episode. No sponsor to talk about for this episode. Probably on the next episode, things kind of happening behind the scenes I'll keep you all up to date on. So yeah, hope you all enjoy this episode of podcast and roll the intro. Boy, yes lads, what is going on?
My name is Amy O'Donoghue.
People call me Dr. Josh.
My name's Lewis O'Loughlin.
My name is O'Donnell.
I'm Charlie O'Donovan.
I'm Abdul Jill.
I'm Scott Fagan.
I'm Mark Conrad.
My name's Cormac Dalton.
I'm Paul Byrne.
I'm Michael Morgan.
More than a runner.
The Irish Hammer.
My name's Brennan.
I'm Brian Fay.
It's Dash Bar.
I am a triathlete.
Craig Engels, Cheryl Nolan, Sean Donoghue,
John Rankin.
I got 10th at the World Championships in 2019 in Doha.
I'm doing great, just happy to be on the podcast.
I'm a Man United fan.
Let's get into this episode of the podcast. Yes, lads, so we are here with Finley Daly. Finley, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to hop on the podcast. Obviously, this episode was meant to be recorded a few days ago, but, stuff happens and we're here now today. So, do you want to kind of just take it away, introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks very much for having me on the podcast. My name is Finley Daly. I'm 21 years old and I'm an athlete based out of NUIG. I'm originally from Sligo and my events are anything from 1,500 up to 5k, but the Steeplechase is where I found my happy hunting ground.
Perfect. That gives us a lot to build off from. So, kind of just to start at the very beginning, so people can get an idea of who you are in terms of sport and running. Like, were you always into the running, or were there other sports in your early days?
Originally I was playing Gaelic football up here in Sligo, and everyone would have done a bit of cross country in primary school, but it really wasn't until I got to secondary school and we started doing fitness tests and they started sending cross country teams for a day off school that I kind of got involved in that. And but even then, that was just running once a week with a PE teacher for the first year, and then after making it to the All Irelands in my first year, the All Ireland schools cross country, it kind of became something where my PE teacher said, look, you should probably go and find a coach. So I ended up down in Sligo AC, training with Alan Kieran's, and the rest is history, as they say.
Deadly, it's definitely a very common theme within the Irish athletes anyway, even from myself and a lot of the lads on my team, kind of doing the bleep test in school, and then there's one athlete, or there's one student who's beating everyone and kind of nearly enjoying it more than all the other students, and then the PE teacher kind of recommends you to go down and join the club. But it's a very, again, it's quite an Irish trend I've seen definitely on the podcast, but it leads to really good things. So that's good to hear. And as well with playing Gaelic in the early days as well, like me and a lot of other athletes do the same, because that's kind of what you're put into at the early age, living up here in Ireland. So it's definitely good to hear that you were able to to broaden your horizons from a young age, because you always see people that are, you know, flat out from a young age and then they kind of get burnt out. So no, that's really good to see, and it's definitely paid off to this day. So as you mentioned there, you know, you when we were texting over on Instagram before we started, you know, you mentioned that you didn't have the greatest success as a junior athlete, but kind of when you started off and got to your first All Irelands, you know, in your first year, did you kind of start seeing any early success, or was it kind of just a gradual growth?
I mean, if I look at my first year, when I was in the first year of secondary school, like even making it to the All Irelands was like, for me, that was huge.
Definitely, yeah.
I'd come like barely inside the top 10 at the North Connachts. I think I got exactly the same result then at the Connachts, and I was kind of just riding the wave, seeing how far I could go. And then I think, if I remember properly, I was 24th or something, which that was kind of a kind of signs went off my head, thinking, you know, if I train properly here, you know, I could kind of be okay. And the competitor in me saw people beating me by, you know, quite a big distance. I wasn't too happy about
Yeah.
that. So, but even like I think the following year I came back and I came 18th, which was a big jump. But that was probably, I know they've did the SIABs cross country and they send the top 8 or top 12 or something
Yeah.
like that. And, you know, that 18th place was the closest that I got to an Irish team at underage when I was 14 or 15. So, you know, I probably went backwards then for a year or two. Like I think I came mid 30s in my first year of intermediate, and then I ended up coming about 50th in my second year of intermediate. So I was trying harder each year, but I was just going backwards for some reason. But it made me hungry and hungry and hungrier. And that meant that, you know, when I did come to university and started training with Matt Lockett, you know, I was pretty raw, but I was a lot hungrier than I think a lot of other people who had some success when they were younger.
Yeah, definitely, and it's refreshing kind of to see as well, because even from people I've spoken to, people I've had on the podcast and whatnot, you know, these are people that in their first year are winning national titles, and then they go off and you know, start going, just like yourself, going to Europeans and, you know, youth Olympics and whatnot. But it's refreshing to hear someone like yourself who maybe didn't have kind of that early, maybe not natural talent, but that early day success, where they're, you know, winning races left, right and centre, but still end up getting to, you know, represent their country like you have this year as well, in the under-23 Europeans, and winning silver medals in the nationals. So would you say that kind of sums you up in terms of your early days of running, or would you say kind of you had more success than, you know, you say you actually do?
I'm not sure. I mean, I kind of look back on it now, and, you know, I won a couple of Connacht titles in for school and club in cross country and on the track. But whenever I would come to an All Ireland, I was always coming, you know, on the track. I think Steve Macklin put up a post the other day. There was 3 of us on the Irish team: Micheál Power, Dave McGlynn, and myself. And we were in the All Ireland in 2015, and I think I came 10th or 11th in that. And he kind of put that up just to show that, you know, it's not always the people coming first and second who end up making it when they're older. But, you know, I was doing okay at provincial level, but whenever I got to the All Irelands, I was just scrapping to try and either not get lapped or, you know, to come inside the top 30 in the cross country, you know. So yeah, there was probably 1 or 2 good runs in there that showed I had potential, but the results just weren't there when I was younger. Yeah,
definitely. And as I said, that is refreshing to hear in terms of the success you've been having lately, and kind of in your senior career. You know, even though you were mentioned there, you know, maybe that you weren't winning All Irelands, you know, at a young age, but when did you actually get to pick up your first Irish vest, and kind of what was that experience like for you?
So the first chance I had was in my first year of university, actually in my first steeplechase race, I came second in the Irish Universities Championships and qualified for the international match against Scotland, which, you know, the only way I can describe it is it's basically the SIABs but without England and Wales.
Yeah.
So the Irish Universities board take the top 2 runners in every event, and they bring them either to Scotland or they bring them to Dublin. I think they swap it every year. And it's basically a mini international like that. And so that was my first Irish vest, which meant the world to me at the time, you know. This was something I'd look forward to, you know, since I started running when I was 13. So although it wasn't the biggest stage for me, this was, you know, a vest that I still have to this day and definitely won't be swapping for anything. But yeah, that was the first one.
Definitely. No matter what, kind of, even getting the gear in the first place is definitely an added bonus, because even for the experience on more of an international stage than you ever have run before that, it's always really, really good to do. And even if you're getting like picked for the top 2 in the event in the country, that even just kind of gives you that confidence and shows that if you stick at it in the future, even bigger things will come. So kind of no matter what way or what race you get your Irish Fest in, once you kind of get one, it feels good. But then did you kind of feel when that happened, it gave you more confidence, more momentum to go on, pick up more Irish Fests and even do better in races?
Yeah, for sure. Like even I remember when we were leaving, this was over in Glasgow, and as we were getting on the bus to come back, I remember thinking to myself that this was not going to be the last time. This wasn't going to be, oh, I made one team and all of a sudden you fall backwards and backwards again. I was determined to make sure that I'd be sitting on a bus at the European Championships, for example, in a few years. And that was funny then when I actually made the championships this year. That was a real kind of, okay, that was 3 years ago that I said that, and I'm finally back at an international overseas again, which was a nice I was determined to make sure it wasn't the last one. So when that worked out, it was pretty nice.
And how did that race go when you picked up your first Irish Fest?
Yeah, I was happy enough to win it. There was myself and my actual training partner at the time, Talon Thompson from the States. He was in NUIG, and the two of us went over, and luckily for us, we were better than the 2 Scottish lads, so I managed to take home the gold medal in that one.
That's really, really cool, and that as well, kind of being able to prove it on, again, more of an international stage than you ever have ran. And before that race must have been a real confidence booster for you.
It was huge. Like for me, it was something that it was more I could relax a bit more, because you stress for years, and SIABs go by and all that kind of stuff goes by, and you kind of start looking ahead, and like a little part of you was thinking, I haven't made one so far, so when will I make one, or will I make one at all?
True.
So just to get that first kit out of the way and be like, okay, I've made it once, so now the pressure's off and I can kind of relax and chase other teams and do whatever. But it was very nice to get that first one out of the way.
Definitely. And as you mentioned, you're now running in NUIG in Galway. Kind of was that always a goal? Was ever a scholarship to go abroad, or even a scholarship in Ireland ever on the cards?
No. So I had 0 offers to go anywhere, which kind of simplified things a bit.
Yeah.
And like since I was younger, I always wanted to go to NUIG, and it was kind of a case of picking which course I was going to do. Even before I'd even started athletics, I wanted to go to Galway. So I remember I'd met the coach, Matt Lockett, at some of the Connacht underage camps, the performance camps, when I was younger. And then I remember it was at the Greystones IMC. I saw that he had NUIG athletics on the back of his jacket, and I thought, yeah, this could be onto a winner here. So I let him know that I was going to come to NUIG, and he started coaching me then. So it's a place I would definitely say that if someone is coming out of believing certain they don't have an offer to go somewhere, or even if they do, it's a great place to go. There's a really good team environment, and the training setup's really good, and I think we've a better team spirit than a lot of the other colleges do in Ireland.
Yeah, definitely. And did you kind of feel the training start intensifying a little bit, and you start becoming a stronger, fitter athlete overall when you started running in college?
Oh, definitely. But I think the important thing was that, we started training harder and the intensity went up, but it was all done in a gradual way. There was no sudden shock to the system, because if you take someone who's pretty undercooked like I was and throw everything at them, it's only going to go one way. So, and I think that's something where Matt's approach was really good, because, it kind of didn't matter what anyone else in the team was doing. He was taking each athlete individual and say, you're doing this many reps or that many sets or whatever. And kind of just making sure that people made it to summer healthy, because you can throw all the training in the world at someone, but if it's 3 times as much as they've done beforehand, it's going to end in tears. So definitely got stronger. Training went up, but it was done in a very controlled way.
Definitely. No, that's really good to hear. And obviously then it started showing in your races, and obviously this year, even still being an under 23 athlete, you picked up silver in the national senior. So kind of how was that for you? Do you want to kind of talk about how what you were thinking, what your mindset was before the race, and were you expecting to be top 3, and kind of how did the race go for you?
Yeah, I mean, that was, a huge breakthrough for me, getting the first senior medal. And I knew it was my last opportunity to get the qualifying standard for the European Championships in Estonia. So in the back of my mind, I was thinking, in a way, wherever I finish is a bonus, as long as I get the time. So if that meant I had to take it out at the front or sit into a pack that was going at 9 minutes, my main focus was getting under 9 minutes to get the qualifying standard. And I remember warming up, and you're kind of stressing about chasing a time or whatever. And I told myself, look, more than likely with the likes of Brian Fay, Jamie Roster, Liam Harris, Rory Chester, those type of runners, if I come top 3, I'm probably going to run under 9 minutes. And then Brian Fay's a class athlete. He took it out at the front and went quite a bit quicker than 9 minute pace the first K, so I sat off that. But I led the second pack from, I'd say, 50 meters into the race until we crossed the line. And I started clock watching then, and like I saw with, I think it was a K to go or something, Brian fell at the front, and I thought for a split second I could catch him, but with what he's been running this season, I wasn't able to get near him. But getting the standard, getting the silver medal, all that in the one day was pretty special for me.
Definitely. And have you had, leading up to this national seniors, kind of at a younger age, had you had much success on the national stage, picking up a few medals here and there?
No, I actually didn't get my first All-Ireland medal of any kind until I was in first year of university at the University Championships. So, going from never getting an underage medal, I think, the universities was the first one. And then in the under-20s, I won the Steeplechase, which was I think 2 months after my first Irish appearance. So to come through that and end up getting a senior medal when I'm still under 23 is pretty nice.
So kind of, could you say your running career really just kicked off since you started college?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I'm a completely different athlete to what I was before I moved down to Galway. So I think a lot of that is due to the setup we have down there and the coaching.
Definitely. And when you were talking about the race, the national race there, you mentioned that it was your last opportunity to get the standards for under 23 Europeans, and that's because 2 weeks previous you were going for sub-9 in Birmingham and ended up falling with 2 laps to go. So do you want to kind of just talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, I often joke with the boys in Galway that I'm trying to emulate Evan Jager, but falling in a big race and missing out on breaking a time barrier was not the way I wanted to do that.
No.
But I flew to Birmingham the first week of June, and I knew that was going to be my best chance to get under 9 minutes to qualify for Europeans, and was ahead of pace, was feeling good, warm day, no wind. Jamie Roster was in front of me, Liam Harris was behind me, working away, and all of a sudden, bang, my trail leg clipped the hurdle with about 900 meters to go and went down hard. It happened so quickly. Next thing, you're looking at the sky. Picked myself up, and I remember I got to the clock with 2 laps to go. I thought I can still do this. I think I was only a second out. I lost 5 or 6 seconds in the fall easily, and started losing time then, but managed to get back on it, and I closed in a 68, and I ran 9 flat 0.03. So to say I was gutted is probably a bit of an understatement. That was the big one. That was you think about national seniors, you might get it, but all of a sudden, if it's a windy, rainy day in Dublin, you're in trouble. So knowing I was that close on the perfect day, perfect weather was, is gut wrenching. But thankfully, I can look back on it and laugh now because I got the time 2 weeks later. But I think if I hadn't gotten it, that would have been something that would have haunted me for a long time.
Yeah, 100%. And even that 0.3 of a second, is there no kind of leniency there at all in terms of European standard, or is it you either hit the time or you don't?
I mean, that was something that I never wanted to have to worry about.
True, yeah.
But I definitely asked my coach, Matt, I said, is there any chance they would still select me? And, his attitude, which I liked a lot, was, look, take it out of the selector's hands, get the standard yourself. And, that you still have to get selected. But he said, look, you have one more chance at seniors to not have to worry about that. So I kind of put that out of my head as much as I could and say that, if I need to worry about 0.03, if I don't get it at seniors, then we'll see. You might have a chance to get selected, but I still had one chance to tick the box myself. So that was what I was trying to focus on. Definitely.
And the fact that you were only 0.3 out, in Birmingham, and the fact that it wasn't a case of you were all out and it was a smooth race and you had a strong kick at the end. It was the fact that you fell and still were only 0.3 of a second out. So maybe if worse came to worse, do you think maybe the selectors would have still selected you, or do you kind of just not want to think about that and happy that you didn't have to think about that in the first place?
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone got selected who didn't get a standard, but what I was thinking of it was, I probably wouldn't, because it's the same as a high jumper missing it by a centimeter or a long jumper missing it by a centimeter. So they have to have a line somewhere. It's something that when I was getting on the plane to come home, and you haven't qualified, but you feel like you're a good enough athlete to have been selected. So I was traveling home with a 9 flat PB when I felt like I was much, much quicker than that, that was the hardest thing to process. Was if I didn't qualify, it wasn't because I wasn't fit enough. It was because I tripped and fell.
Yeah,
definitely. But thankfully that's something that won't haunt me now that I took care of business.
True. And then in the nationals, what did you end up running, like a 8:54? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was 8:54.
Yeah, 8:56 in the end.
8:56.
So yeah, was on pace with a lap to go and pulled out another 68, which is starting to become a bit of a routine for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, went a bit crazy when I crossed the line then and saw that I got in the time. So yeah.
And is that a personal best for you?
Oh, huge. Like when I made that first Irish Fest I got in first year, I ran 9:39, and then in second year, I don't think I went under 9:44 or 9:45, and then there was no steeplechases in third year because of COVID that I did. So even with the fall, to come out and run 9 flat was still a 39-second PB, and then to go under 9 again was still, if you think this is my last year of under 23s now, in my first year of under 23s 2 years ago, I was about 45 seconds off the standard with the season's best. So
True.
It's a small bit of a jump.
Oh, definitely. And then obviously you cross that line knowing you got second place in nationals, and then also they hit the standard. Kind of, what was going through your head at the time? Obviously, when people win, usually it's like, oh my God, I've gotten second in nationals. But then for you, it was like, oh my God, I've hit the European standard. So what was kind of the biggest thing out of that race?
Probably stress during it. You're checking the clock every lap, and like the plan was to get a few seconds up, and see, could I not make it comfortable, but could I start running 71s instead of 72s? But I think I was 2 seconds up through a K, and I was never further up than that. And even like I came around and I was bang on pace. Like I needed a 72 last lap, and it was pretty windy. I was pretty tired. But I just told myself, look, you have one lap to make up for what happened in Birmingham. So the flight home, you're thinking about it, all that kind of stuff. You've one lap to put that right. So I remember Matt, my coach, was at the 300 meter to go mark, kind of around there, and I think he started yelling, "You have to go!" And then someone who I don't know who they are was at the 200 to go mark, and I think they said I needed a 37 or something. So I knew I'd made up enough time in the 200 to where, unless I fell, I was probably okay.
Yeah.
But having fallen 2 weeks before, I definitely was still probably more stressed at that point, because then I felt like I had it to lose. But no, took the last two bars pretty well. And, I remember Brian crossed the line in low 850s, and I remember counting in my head, and I thought I was fine. But when you're that tired, you don't even trust yourself to count.
True, yeah.
But I had a feeling I was under it, but I wasn't letting myself get too happy until I actually got the okay from one of the officials.
Deadly. And then kind of from then, with I've seen around Instagram, people putting up in their stories that they got selected. Were you confident then you'd get selected, or was it only until you got the notice that you were selected for the under 23s is when you could actually relax?
I mean, it's a weird feeling, because you look at the selection criteria or process, whatever the document is online, and you think, I've ticked all the boxes here, but until you actually have the email, you're not selected. So while I was happy and I was like, oh, more than likely I'm going to European Championships, there's a voice in your back head going, just relax until you actually get the email. But like I think I got told 2 days after I ran the race, or maybe the evening after the race, like the following day, I got the email saying I got selected. So I didn't have too long to stress about it, but I kind of knew more than likely I'd be okay. So that was a nice email to get.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really cool. So kind of moving on then into the European under 23s, we're heading over. Were you excited? Were you nervous? Kind of before even you got there, before even the race started, kind of what were you thinking? Was it just all excitement?
So there was a week from when I got selected until we flew out, and that was probably the longest week of my life. Because I was trying not to go out unless it was for training or something, because the last thing you want to do is to get a positive test just before you fly out or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was here for a week in the house, only leaving to train and whatever. And, you know, every day was a week. I couldn't wait to get going, dying to get on the plane. And so that was tough enough. But like when I was going over there, it was a weird feeling of all the stress I had trying to qualify was now gone. So now it was like anything I do over there is a bonus. You know, a week ago, having not had the time, I wasn't going. So now that I actually qualified, you know, I was excited, but I was very, very relaxed. And I was trying to just go over there and look, do the best I can, you know, have fun, enjoy it, but just learn as much as possible. It was kind of like a free opportunity that, you know, I thought had been taken away for a few weeks after the fall. But yeah, it was weird. I was far more nervous for nationals and for Birmingham than I was for Europeans, which kind of made it easier to enjoy and probably easier to perform as well.
Yeah, definitely. Did you kind of have in the back of your head kind of just like, I'm here, I'm going to use for experience, that's maybe why you weren't as nervous? Or were you there with, you know, obviously everyone has the ambitions to win and really do well? Or were you kind of mainly just there, you know, it's my first you know, big international event, kind of, were you just there for the experience? Or kind of, what was your mindset like in the fact that you weren't as nervous before, just say, you know, the race over in Birmingham or the nationals the week before?
So my mindset going into it was, I've qualified, so I have nothing to lose now.
Definitely.
I'm on the plane, like I'm on the team. So as soon as I got the heats and I was looking through who's in my race, it was okay, who can I beat? I was ranked, there was 12 people in it, and I was ranked 9th off that 856. And I think it was top 4 got through straight away. So you look at who's in your heat and you think, I can probably beat you. I might be able to beat you. But the goal was to make the final. And if I didn't make it, you know, it happens.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was kind of a nice mindset to be in of, there's a lot of people slower than me here who've qualified. There's a lot of people quicker too, but I kind of have a free roll of the dice here. So like I was trying to tell myself, look, don't let the occasion get to you. Don't, you know, you belong to be here. You qualified. You have the same right to be here as everybody else. You know, so that there is no pressure. Just go out and get as many people as you can.
Definitely. And kind of, you know, were due to COVID, like, were you there a day or two before, obviously, to get settled in and whatnot, or are you kind of there on race day and then kind of have to get the boot and get out?
So we flew on the Tuesday and I was racing on the Friday. So we got to the hotel in Estonia Tuesday evening, and then I had Wednesday to kind of go to the training track and do whatever. And then I went to the stadium for the first time on the Thursday to watch Dave McGlynn and Matthew Neal in the 10K. And even just meeting more of the Irish team and making friends and kind of just getting used to being away on a trip like that. There was a lot of people who'd been to those things before, you know, whether it was under 18s or under 20s or cross country or whatever. But, you know, being the first time having to go places and not forget your accreditation or all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Just trying to get used to it and know what it's going to be like. But I definitely preferred having a few days beforehand to get used to being there rather than flying in. There's a few people I know who'd rather fly in the day before, race and fly out. But kind of stretching as much as possible works best for me.
Yeah, definitely. I'd kind of feel the same as you on that front. And kind of, you know, when you got there on the Wednesday, you got to the stadium, you know, you went to the warm-up area, you got to the warm-up track and all. Did it kind of start to sink in then a little bit, kind of like, okay, this is real, this is really happening? Or were you still kind of just there to enjoy it and whatever happens?
Kind of a mix of both. Like before I went to the stadium, I put on the live stream on my phone and I was watching it as if I was here at home watching it.
Yeah.
And then half an hour later, you're at the stadium looking at the cameras that were filming that, you know, whatever, an hour before. So, but I was trying, it didn't seem too overwhelming because when you have qualified, you look around everyone in the warm-up area and you're going, everybody here had to chase a standard too. You know, they're no different to me. None of these people turned up and straight away, oh, you know, you're on the team, whatever. Everybody here had to qualify. So there's nobody here that, you know, is above anybody else, or there's no one, you know, everybody's stressed out. It's the European Championships. So, you know, it was definitely a little bit nerve wracking the day of the race, but beforehand, you know, you're walking around and you're just trying to keep a level head and treat it like any other race and not let it get the better of you.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of just enjoy the experience for what it is, and then, you know, when the race comes around, then you can start, you know, really focusing in and doing what you have to do. And kind of on that note of the race, kind of, you know, how did it go for you? I don't want to say anything because when you're racing, everything is different for you. Even though you'd be watching the live stream, you could see what happened. Kind of for you personally, I know even from when I'm racing, everything's different. What's going through your head and while you're racing. So kind of just how was the whole racing experience?
Yeah, it was good. I came 8th in my heat. Top 4 went through. And I think one fastest loser came from our heat, but so didn't manage to qualify, but I finished a place higher than I was ranked, so I didn't underperform is the way I'm looking at it.
Definitely.
And the first 4 or 5 laps was around 9-minute pace, and I felt pretty comfortable. And I was moving well. I was putting myself where I wanted to be. And then with 3 laps to go, a guy from Finland dropped the hammer, and I think their last K for the people who qualified was around 250, which I have no shame in sitting here saying that's just something I can't do yet. It's something I will be able to do, but right now I just don't have the fitness for that. So when you don't qualify based off that, you can't be too hard on yourself. You have to sit there and say, look, I got fit enough to get here. I ran as hard as I could out there. That's the standard I need to get to now, but right now it just isn't there. But the main thing I took away from it was that when you see a time on a sheet or an entry list, you think, oh, that's quick, whatever. But when you actually see the fitness and the level these guys are at, it gives you something to think about and train towards. And you just see the level you have to get to if you're going to race these guys.
Definitely. And it's good to hear that you're kind of coming away from it. Obviously, you want to do as well as possible, but the fact that you're coming away from it thinking, I'm not able to run that quick at the end of a race, but if I keep working and kind of, as you said, some people it could be a drawback for them to be like, am I good enough to compete with these kind of guys on an international level? But you're thinking of it the complete opposite end of the scale. Like, you know what, maybe, right now I can't run that quick, but if I keep training, keep working, soon enough by the next European comes around, you will be up there and you will be able to, qualify for the final and really make a name for yourself. So that's a really good, mindset to have.
Yeah, like even I think John Fagan was the physio who's actually with me over there as, kind of helping me around the finish line and that kind of stuff. And I think the first thing I said to him when I came off the track was, that's the standard. That's, I'm not disappointed. I'm not deliriously happy, but that's the standard. It's there for everyone to see the gap. So it's up to me to close that gap now.
Definitely. And obviously, you go there to race and whatnot, but I know the few days after, when you're, with everyone on your team, you get to watch some other people race as well. You get to kind of explore around the city. Was that like a really, really nice time for you as well to kind of just show that, it's not everything is as serious as it makes it out to be, and you can really enjoy yourself?
Yeah, definitely. That was kind of like after competing on day 2 on the Friday, and we don't leave till Monday. That kind of, I was able to relax and be like, okay, you go to the stadium and you just watch events and you cheer on the Irish athletes, and you kind of, it's something you don't think about before you've qualified, but the team element is huge over there.
Definitely.
So whenever someone was competing, whether it was in the long jump or whether it was in the 5K or whatever, nearly 90% of the team was down there, unless they were competing that the same day or whatever. They were down there and you're cheering them on. And even in the steeplechase, when I came around, you hear all the Irish voices on the team and the familiar face, and it does help. But yeah, being able to go around and even just kind of enjoy the atmosphere and soak it up and kind of keep telling yourself, I'll be back here, and kind of, all that stuff was really good. And it's fuel for the fire. It's what you're going to be thinking about all winter training. It's you go there to race and you don't let yourself relax too much and wander around the hotel or the track. You're saving energy, but once your season's over and you've taken care of business, you can kind of wander around and soak it up a bit more.
Definitely kind of get into that holiday mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too much.
No, definitely not too much, but kind of just enough that you can enjoy yourself. So you say this year especially kind of coming second in nationals, qualifying for European Under-23s, and also running a huge PB in the 1500 of a 3:51. You mentioned to me earlier today that this was kind of an overall breakthrough season for you.
Yeah, for sure. Like we done some group time trials in Galway since Christmas, and they can kind of show you what shape you're in, but you never really know until you spike up and race. So Belfast for me was in the middle of my exams, and I went up with a few of the lads from Galway, and it was 10 days out from Birmingham. So I was treating it as, if I run a good 1500, if when I come into a steeplechase, the pace should feel so much easier because you've had such a shock to the system 10 days before that, the steeplechase pace should feel a lot more comfortable, and put myself in a good spot. And I think I went out in 59 and then came through in 202, which, I thought I was hearing things, but I just kept telling myself, sit in. And it started to open up a bit. And then I think Brian Kelly made a very, very big move. If anyone watches the race back with 200 to go, which I think if somebody had a motorbike, they still probably wouldn't have gotten near him. But, I managed to come third, ran 3:51, which was a 6-second PB for me. And definitely, I remember when I was on the cool down, I said to Keith Fallon and Jack Miskela, two of my training partners, that this standard is on. Like 9 minutes is, as long as I don't make a mistake, it should be on.
Definitely no. And that must now kind of give you big confidence, even leading into cross country, and then when next track season come down. So will you be racing much, leading into cross country, and will you have any more races of this track season?
So track season for me is done. I'm on my off season at the minute.
Lovely.
But definitely cross country is a big one. There's a home European cross country championships in Dublin. And having never gotten near the under 20 team or anything like that, and after making a European track one in the under 23, I'd like to think I've got a good chance of making this team. But the standard is incredible, and there's probably 15 guys that could make that team, but only 6 can qualify. But I'll definitely race as much cross country as I can and give myself the best chance of making that team.
100%. And no, I'd be definitely looking forward to, fingers crossed, if that goes ahead, to go up and watch that up in Abbottstown, and if you're there to be cheering you on. And kind of on that note, what are the goals for the future? This breakthrough season, as we mentioned, must be giving you a lot of, not high expectations, but confidence, now leading into the next few seasons. Obviously, you're still a really young and learning athlete. Each time you go out and race, you're still always learning and getting new experience, on a national or international stage. So from as of right now, kind of what's the future looking like for you?
So, like you go away to European Championships and you see that's the whole experience. And I remember coming home, it was the same as, 3 years ago when I got the first cap. It was, this won't be the last one I make. So that whole process of, you see a standard a year out, you train all winter, all year, you race, you get the standard, you go to the championships. That's something I want to just keep repeating, but, to a higher level. So whether that's the European Senior Championships, World Championships, or, definitely, like, the long-term goal is the Olympics.
Definitely.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say that. And if you ask anyone who was on that under 23 team in Tallinn, they give you exactly the same answer. So that's definitely the long-term goal. But definitely, once you get a taste of those championships once, the first I came back and told my parents was, I want to keep going back to these. This won't be the last one I make. And I'll do whatever I can to keep getting back to them.
So kind of overall, it's just about staying fit and healthy and keeping it really consistent.
Yeah, like you can do whatever many flashy 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, and it can look good on Strava and whatever. But if you don't make it to summertime, there's no point.
Definitely.
So if you need to take a day off here and there and rest and cut back the mileage or miss a session or whatever, as long as you're not injured and you're not missing a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you're fine. So that's something that, I tried to work on this year with Matt, was just getting to the start line, and it'll work this year. So we kind of have a template that we think will work for next year.
Definitely. So if it's not broken, don't fix it. And kind of, fingers crossed we'll be seeing you in a few more under 23 Europeans, senior Europeans, and the Europeans this year, hopefully up in Abbottstown, where we'll definitely be cheering you on. And then fingers crossed we could be seeing you in Paris in 2024.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
That's it. So, no, Finley, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and have a little chat. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed coming on. Thanks very much for having me.
No problem at all. And we'll definitely be seeing you again on the podcast when a few more big events pop up for you. I'm sure of it. So, hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, no, hopefully I have to go and do a few more things now, so we've got more stuff to talk about.
That's it. And also for anyone watching or listening at home, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.